Welcome to the Braythen Experience, a podcast where we discuss the latest news and events in the MLB and the NFL.
Join us as we dive into our thoughts and opinions from everything from game highlights to team updates. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the Braythen Experience.
So now we're going to start our first segment. We're going to be talking about the NFL draft. I hear you have compiled quite a list of things to talk about.
Oh, yes. There's a lot of things to talk about, of course, since the draft was over a couple days ago when we're recording this.
What do you want to start off with first? Do you want to let's start off with Will Levis. So many people are acting really surprised that Will Levis fell. The Titans he was drafted to. But I'm honestly not very surprised that Will Levis fell. Are you surprised?
It's really surprising for most people because it looks a lot like the Malik Willis situation last year in the draft, where Malik got hyped up to maybe a top 10, maybe a top 5. Even some people saying he might go number 1, but he fell to the third round.
Exactly. I think he was overhyped by ESPN and CBS and a bunch of sports outlets because they had Will Levis so high in the list. There was somebody, they had the odds. He was the favored person to be going number 1 overall. And I don't think that it's like a character issue because I saw a report on Sports Illustrated of a character issue, but I don't think it's that. I think the main reason why he fell is just that the media was wrong about him. They saw what apparently NFL scouts didn't see in him.
Yeah, he also fell to the same team that Malik Willis got drafted to.
Exactly. That should be a fun quarterback competition if they ever get that.
It's going to be really competitive. It's a great quarterback trio they can rock with for the rest of next year. But the Titans might not win a lot of games.
I got the Jaguars winning the South, personally. So.
Oh, yeah. Who doesn't? It's either the Jaguars or the Colts. You got
exactly. Colts should be competitive. Now we can break into Mr. Anthony Richardson. Went 4 overall, I believe.
Yeah. Anthony Richardson to the Colts. He's going to be a great quarterback, I think. But I think he's going to struggle his rookie year, personally. But he's going to evolve into a great player.
I see what you mean by thinking that he's going to struggle because he doesn't really have a good mentor there in Indianapolis. The Colts just hired a first-time head coach, I believe, and the quarterback that he could be backing up or will back up him is Gardner Minshew, who didn't really have a lot of success as a starter in the league, but I think it could be interesting. But I do think that he might struggle in his first year.
I really agree with that, but on the other hand, he was also Trevor Lawrence's kind of mentor for his rookie year. But now Trevor Lawrence is really the old guy of the South, even though he's 25.
Exactly. But I do think that Trevor Lawrence he had his first really good year last year, and obviously Gardner Minshew was in Philadelphia last year, who looked I think he looked okay in one game, but I think he kind of looked poor in the other games that he played.
Yeah, 50% is not what you want out of your mentor. It really isn't. But if your mentor's like a vet, like Matt Ryan would have been.
Exactly. That's why I don't see why they cut him. I think that Matt Ryan could have been a really good mentor to Richardson. I think he would have probably been a better mentor than Gardner Minshew is going to be. We'll see what the Colts do, though.
Well, Matt Ryan is certainly a better quarterback than Gardner Minshew. Matt Ryan does have an MVP under his belt. Minshew has spent multiple years as a backup.
Exactly. I'm surprised that nobody has picked up Matt Ryan, though, because there was talks that the Buccaneers were going to bring in a veteran quarterback. But they did, but it's certainly not the guy who we expected it to be. I believe it was Wolford of the Rams.
He's not really a vet either. He's, 28, 29?
Exactly. I would have guessed that the Buccaneers would have picked up Matt Ryan because when you have a young quarterback room like the Buccaneers kind of do. I mean, Baker Mayfield, he's getting older than some of the guys in the league now, obviously, but he's still very young. But I think that Matt Ryan would have been a really solid mentor for the Bucs quarterback room.
Yeah, especially for Kyle Trask in that room. It would have fit. He would have fit well because Kyle Trask has the same play style where he doesn't run much, but he can run if he really feels like it.
Exactly. Getting back on track to the draft, though. One of the bigger stories is that now both Porters have ended up in Pittsburgh.
That really is crazy. Joey Porter Sr. was picked by Pittsburgh, and Joey Porter Jr. was picked by Pittsburgh. Those are some. It really makes you think that the NFL is scripted because it's father-son drafted to the same team.
As much as I really don't like the Steelers, I think that it's awesome that both Porters got drafted to the Steelers.
It also translates into another situation with the draft also, where Orlando Brown Sr. played for the Browns in the 1990s when they moved to Baltimore and became the Ravens, and then Orlando Brown Jr. also got drafted to Baltimore, but yet again, Jr. is not on the Ravens anymore.
I think as a Penn State fan, I think that is incredible that Porter was able to get drafted to the close by Steelers, as they're both playing Pennsylvania. But I feel like the Steelers draft a lot of Penn State players every year. One of the bigger Georgia Bulldogs deals for the Eagles is Nolan Smith.
Yeah, the Georgia edge rusher had one of the best combines in NFL history. He ranked 99th percentile with a 4.38 40 time. He really will be a great player for the Eagles.
Exactly. Another player that I'm biasly focusing on here is a wide receiver that got drafted to the Jacksonville Jaguars, Parker Washington. Parker Washington, I think, is one of the more overlooked wide receivers in this class. I think that the Jaguars wide receiver room, adding him, I think they could be really good.
Yeah, the Jaguars really have a deep wide receiver room. That also translates into another team that has a deep wide receiver room, the Baltimore Ravens, who were a part of that train of the 4 teams that took wide receivers in a row. And you got to feel bad for the New York Giants, who were the pick after that.
Yeah, Baltimore, they got some more wide receivers now. They signed Lamar, I believe, on draft day or the day before draft day. You would know.
It was before draft day. $52 million a year. This is just it was insane.
Paid NFL player, making Josh Allen look like a steal. But back on the Ravens. I believe I saw something that was again from Sports Illustrated. I see a lot of news from Sports Illustrated. I heard that potentially, if Lamar Jackson hadn't signed a deal, the Ravens would have drafted Will Levis in the first round.
I don't think that would have happened because I feel like they would have traded Lamar and then drafted a quarterback the next year and rolled with Tyler Huntley this season.
I don't know. I feel like there could be some credibility to that. You want to have a competitive quarterback room because not a lot of teams are gonna go out there having a really good potential roster with OBJ. OBJ was going to be part of the picture either way. Lamar signed after OBJ did. And I think that with a shaky quarterback room, I think that drafting Will Levis and having him compete with Huntley, I think that would have been a good competition now. But I know a place where you can find competition, and it's right in our backyard, Buffalo, New York. The Bills O-line, absolutely full of competition. You bring in Osiris Torrance, who I think was an absolute steal on day 2 of the draft. I think he was drafted. He was an absolute steal getting Osiris Torrance. And, the Bills should have a solid offensive line, and I'm interested in hearing how it's going to.
And the Bills do have quite the offensive line now. They have a lot of depth. It really will be exciting to see who can start. It really goes down to reps in practice.
It will certainly be a very fun competition in training camp. I'm excited to see it. But shifting gears just a little bit, we very briefly talked about the Bills. What do you want to talk about? What do you see on your list there that sounds nice to talk about right now?
Well, we all know about the consensus number 1 for a while now, and that was obviously Bryce Young.
Obviously.
Well, it wasn't really a competition except for C.J. Stroud, but every quarterback was ranked number 1 at least once.
every quarterback during this draft. At one point on an ESPN mock draft made by one of the football experts that are about as experted and skilled as us, had probably Will Levis, C.J. Stroud, and Bryce Young cycling to number 1, but apparently in NFL front offices it was pretty apparent that it was going to be Bryce Young this whole time, especially after the Panthers traded for that number 1 overall pick.
Even outside of those guys, during the college football season, when Hendon Hooker was a Heisman finalist, they had him at number 1 at one point. And Hendon Hooker wasn't even a first-round pick. He wasn't even a second-round pick.
And I think that the thing that made Hendon Hooker fall, quote, quote, I think is that the fact that he's injured. I think that he's injured. I know he's injured. I think he's walking on crutches right now. But I saw a lot of belief in Tennessee fans saying that, he'll be able to suit up for the season. But I believe that the Lions drafted Hendon Hooker. Dan Campbell said that he will be a basically redshirt year this year because he's injured. And, they don't want to rush out their rookie QB, who I'm sure the Lions think can be the quarterback of the future. They don't want to rush out a rookie quarterback who was injured in his breakout college season. I think it's the right move by Dan Campbell to redshirt him and not play him this year and let him learn.
And also, it's also another season for Jared Goff. He's coming off his career year.
Exactly. Goff is playing still very well. Yeah.
He had top 10 numbers. People don't realize that Jared Goff put up the numbers to be a top 10 quarterback this season. And I just think it's outrageous to put some of these guys above him.
Exactly. Jared Goff, obviously, like you said, coming off of a great season. We'll see how he does this year. And, it'll be interesting. It'll be fun to see how Dan Campbell and the Lions quarterback room are able to grow. And growth is a big word for a lot of MLB teams this season. Of course, growth is always a big part in sports, but this year in the MLB, we're seeing it quite a lot. Some surprise teams. The Angels looking good. The Marlins are looking great. The Marlins are sitting pretty at second in their division. The Marlins, I think, are a team that is fueled by really good pitching. And I think that their pitching, which is bolstered down by the NL Cy Young winner, Sandy Alcantara, and, they have guys that could win that trophy in the future. The Marlins are showing a lot of growth, but I know you, as an Angels fan, would love to talk about your Angels. What's new with them?
Oh, they're doing great. It's good to see them have a winning record for once, since they suck.
Maybe they'll make the playoffs.
They could make the playoffs. They're tied with the Yankees. The Yankees went to the ALCS last year.
Comparison bad.
Nuh-uh.
The Yankees are in a great division, though.
The Yankees are in a great division, but they're 20-17.
Talk about the Orioles too. Orioles off from fresh seasons and not making the playoffs. They're looking great this year. Adley Rutschman on my fantasy teams, Century Well Steele, Adley Rutschman doing great this season. There's been a lot of growth and surprises in the MLB.
Yeah, Baltimore sports is looking good for the next couple of years, aren't they?
Too bad you're not an Orioles fan, are you?
Nah, but hey, they're just another baseball team that's just nationally liked by most fans.
Yeah. Nobody really. I don't think a lot of people have a lot against the Orioles. I mean,
a team that's nationally hated by most fans are the Mets.
The Mets.
It's all about the Mets.
Exactly. Well, except I'm not a Mets fan. I'm go Phillies, of course. The Mets, I hate the Mets. Let's make that clear before I start saying some real biased stuff. But it's been a disappointing year for New York City baseball. New York City baseball has been disappointing this year. They had two teams last year. The Mets had a massive lead in the division.
They're coming off a 100-win season, which is
they had
not the greatest start if you want 100 wins this year.
They had a massive lead, and then they fell apart, collapsed, and died like the Mets usually do.
Oh.
That's not really meant to be an insult. That's factual. Then you had the Yankees going to the ALCS and losing to the Astros again. And if the Yankees had won that series, I really wish they did, because I think the Phillies could have beat the Yankees in the World Series last year. That That would have made everything perfect.
That would have made a hell of a World Series, too.
Yankees-Phillies would have been a rematch of the last time the Phillies were in the World Series, 2009, 2008. 2009 and 2008 back-to-back years where the Phillies made the World Series. We only talk about 2008 though. Played another AL East team in the Tampa Bay Rays. Tampa Bay Rays had one hell of an undefeated stretch to begin the season. I think that the Rays are an early favorite to make the World Series and possibly win it.
Yeah, they're definitely looking like a lock for the playoffs, you know.
Oh yeah.
These Rays, they're
Rays are different than last year. Last year, you know, the Rays were, I mean, the Rays were all right. I mean, they finished third in their division. They made the playoffs. They had 86 wins, but you know, I mean, the Rays this year looking to make a big improvement over that wild card loss over Cleveland next year. Last year, I apologize for that. I think the Rays, maybe. I think the A's might just be my team to go to the World Series in the AL.
Well, without a surprise, the Athletics and the Rockies are terrible.
Athletics, talk about them again. They've got a new stadium deal in Vegas.
Yeah, but next year they don't have a home.
Well, is this the last year of their lease?
Yeah, they don't have a home next year.
Okay, so next year, I guarantee they're not going to be returning to Oakland next year. If this is indeed the last year of their stadium deal.
They might just take a year off, you know? The Oakland, we've seen people.
I'm sure A's fans only wish they could take a year off. I believe that if this is the final year of their stadium contract at the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum, next year I believe they'd probably move to the Las Vegas ballpark.
I don't know where they'll go. They might go to their AAA stadium,
which is Las Vegas ballpark.
Yeah.
But Las Vegas ballpark, though, is an incredibly nice stadium. Hosted the Pro Bowl skills competition for the last 2 years, I believe now. It hosted part of them this year, and the other one were just done in the Raiders training facility. But Las Vegas ballpark, I think, as for the A's, I think even though it's drastically smaller, I think they'll be able to fill it in every night, pack an intimate crowd every night, give the Vegas fans something to root for, give them a reason to fill up a massive stadium that you're going to be getting in the future. Give them reason to cheer for the A's. Give them a good team, Vegas, soon Oakland. We have our next guest, Brayden's best friend, and his name is
Everal.
Adler Gribble. Hello.
Hey, Everal. So, we'll be asking you some trivia questions.
Sounds good.
And we'll be going back and forth on to who's asking the questions. Isn't that right, Brayden?
What kind of trivia questions?
About Major League Baseball. Are you ready?
Oh, my days. I don't know anything about baseball.
Yeah, well, you best get to knowing, because this is surely a baseball podcast. Alrighty, I'm going to start out with the first question for today. Who is the all-time leader in home runs in Major League Baseball?
Aaron Judge.
Oh, you're wrong. You sounded like you were going somewhere by saying Barry Bonds, but he was the answer. Brayden, we're going to get a next question for you, Brayden.
Who is the owner of the Boston Red Sox?
Xander Bogaerts.
That is incorrect. It is John Henry.
Alrighty now, we're going to get on to our next question. What is the capacity of Miller Park?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Whose stadium is that?
The Milwaukee Brewers.
Where are they located?
Milwaukee.
322,000.
Wrong. 41,900 spectators can attend a game at Miller Park. Brayden, you answer. That's the next question.
All right. So, Everal, if that's really your name, who has appeared in the most World Series?
The Los Angeles Dodgers.
Are you dumb?
Wait, no. New York Yankees.
Yeah, but how many?
We're not giving him credit. How many times have they been there?
12.
Wrong. 40.
Holy moly.
Who has? That's a really dumb question.
I want to hear it.
Who has? All right. Now we're gonna ask you our next question. Okay, I'm gonna cut this part out, Nathan, in the future. All right. Next question. Who has the most losses in a single World Series?
In a single World Series?
Exactly.
Like 4 losses, you mean? Like,
I don't really get this question, so I'm cutting this part out. What the hell? That's all the questions you're going to give me?
Here.
ask me who stole the most bases.
Alrighty, our next question. Who is the only Hall of Fame pitcher to defeat all 30 current Major League Baseball clubs?
Satchel Paige.
Wrong. The answer would be Randy Johnson.
I knew that one.
Mookie Betts has hit 19 leadoff home runs as a Dodger, third in franchise history. Who's first?
As a Dodger,
Yeah.
I don't
The
know.
anticipation builds.
I don't know. Oh, wait. I don't have a guess.
What are you?
I don't know any Dodgers players.
It's Davey Lopes.
Yeah, no, I
And
could
then
have got that.
it's Jock Peterson.
Yeah, I don't know.
And now that we're done with our warming up, we're now going to be calculating points. Every question correct equals 10 points, and I think our microphone is going out. So, all right, now we're going to be calculating points for each question that you get correct. I will go for the first question in our point calculated round. We'll get 10 points anytime that you answer a question wrong. Who are the 5 active pitchers who have struck out 300 or more batters in a season? We'll give you 10 points for each pitcher you name.
Jacob deGrom.
Nope, that's 0 points. That's 10 points
Zero.
for us.
Uh,
4 more. Hey, you're reading.
Christian Arroyo.
What? No.
Oh, wait, did you say Garrett Cole?
Yes, I said
Okay.
Garrett Cole.
Okay.
No, he never said.
Yes, I did. I said Garrett
Yes, you
Cole.
did. I'm pretty sure you did. All right, now we're going to be calculating points for these questions. We'll get 10 points for each question that you answer correctly. Who are the 5 active pitchers who have struck out 300 or more batters in a season? You'll get 10 points for each pitcher, and you only get 5 guesses to get them all right.
Garrett Cole.
That's 10 points.
Chris Sale.
That's 10 points.
Jacob deGrom.
That's incorrect.
2
more guesses.
Madison Bumgarner.
That's incorrect. 1 more guess.
That guy.
I'm out of guesses.
All right, the full answer was Garrett Cole, Chris Sale, Clayton Kershaw, Max Scherzer, and Justin Verlander. You earned 20 points.
Who was the last player before Fernando Tatis Jr. to hit 2 homers in one game against Clayton Kershaw?
Fernando Tatis Sr.
What the freak? It's Austin Slater.
That's 0 points.
Oh my God! Can't with this guy. Why are you?
On to our next question. Which team holds the record in the divisional era since 1969 for most stolen bases in a season by a team that won the World Series?
Ricky Henderson.
Wrong. The answer is the 1976 Cincinnati Reds.
What the freak? I can't with this guy. Give me this. When the Pirates selected Drew Maggi in the 15th round of the 2010 MLB draft, who was their first round pick? Who was it? Who was it, Everal? Huh?
Who? The Giants?
What?
Wait, the Padres? What team?
The Padres.
Fernando Tatis.
Incorrect. The answer was Jameson Taillon, second overall. Alrighty, your next question. Which 4 players hit 200 or more home runs at the original Yankee Stadium? You get 4 guesses, 10 points for each you get correct.
Aaron Judge.
Wrong. 3 more
Babe
guesses.
Ruth.
Yes.
Can I get a hint?
There's a disease named after him.
Jaundice.
Wrong.
Yellow fever.
Wrong.
Spanish flu.
You're not naming baseball players. You have 2 more guesses.
Give me a better hint.
There's a really good hint. There's like 1 baseball player that there's a disease named after.
HIV.
Oh my God. Okay, that's enough. The answers were Mickey Mantle, Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, and Yogi Berra. Yogi Berra is a great name. Is that a great baseball name or what?
Next question, please.
Yogi Gehrig. We're done with trivia. We're gonna ask you questions now. Who is your favorite baseball team?
The Red Sox.
Who is your least favorite baseball team?
The New York Yankees.
Who is your favorite sports podcast that you've been on?
I don't have one.
Oh snap! That's some serious shade thrown at us. Brayden, say some stuff so we can get some more time in this podcast.
Okay, I'll say some things. So Everal, are you so-called expert? How many World Series have you won as a player?
Let's see here. Got 86. 04. Yeah, 2.
Wow, that is just a tremendous career that you had. Playing for that long, that's ridiculous. I'm going to be straight up. That was the most ridiculous answer that I've ever heard in my history of doing podcasts. I've only recorded 1 episode, and that was ridiculous. That was a terrible answer. You should be ashamed of yourself. Get off my show.
Ask me some more questions, please.
You were on the St. Louis Browns?
Of course.
Wow.
He never clarified what century he won a World Series in.
True.
What century?
18 or 19?
18 or 19?
19.
19. So the 1984 World Series.
86.
That's what you
Yes.
1986.
I could have sworn you said 84.
No, I said 94, sir.
You played for the Mets against your favorite team?
Meet the Mets.
Yeah.
I hate the Mets.
Actually, the Mets are your favorite team.
Actually, I hate the Mets. And I hate any person that's a Mets fan.
Oh, wait, you're a Phillies fan.
Yes, I'm a Phillies fan.
Ask me some more trivia questions. I like those.
All right, one more trivia question. Who won the 2009 World Series?
Ask me a different one.
Who won the 2008 World Series?
Phillies.
Indeed.
Yes.
Who won the 2002 World Series?
Ask me a different one.
Who won the 2020 World Series?
Chicago Cubs.
Wrong.
Wait, it got
That's
canceled.
the Dodgers.
Oh.
The Dodgers won.
2019 was Cubs.
What 2 teams played in the 2023 World Series? You should get this one.
The Astros and give me a hint. Give me a hint.
Ronald Torres' former team.
Baltimore Ravens.
That is a pitiful answer. Pitiful answer. I moved the mic up to the table so you could hear me hitting the microphone. This is a great podcast. Everything's going so well. Everything in our podcast goes well. I'm wearing headphones that I can hear every word that I'm saying to myself. I'm really getting weird.
Okay, I have time for one more trivia question, then I gotta head out.
One more trivia question?
Yep.
All right. If you're so smart, name every number 1 overall pick in the NFL Since 1990.
This is an MLB podcast. I've appreciated you being on our podcast.
One more question.
Now I'm going to have to
One more
ask you
question.
to get off of my
One more
podcast.
question.
Get off. I feel like he's not going to be competing in the PGA Championship.
Well, it might not be in the championship, but he's competing in a PGA event.
Good for him. You know, I think it would be big for the area if the LPGA brought back the Corning Classic.
Yeah.
Beautiful event, Brayden.
Yeah.
What did you say, Brayden?
It's a beautiful event. Shout out to Andrew for competing in PGA.
Tall or is he short?
He's like 6'3".
Okay, so he's a lanky dude. He's a big dude.
Yeah, he's pretty tall.
Good for him though.
Yeah.
Certainly good for him.
Yeah.
Now, on our podcast, we're going to wrap up with a bit of a. We're going to wrap up here in a few minutes. We're nearing 40 minutes run time. It'll probably be shorter than that once we cut out some of the dead space that we've had in between asking questions to our wonderful guest. But, you know, I think that doing this podcast today has just been a tremendous experience. Correct, Brayden? Do you think that filming podcasts in the last few days has been just a tremendous experience?
Oh, it's been tremendous.
As we near our deadline to submit this audio to our teacher, we thank all of you. We thank anyone out there listening. There are probably not going to be a lot, as I've looked at some of the other podcasts that CPV TV makes, and you know there hasn't been a ton of people. Maybe, just maybe, we'll upload this podcast to Spotify so a few more people can hear us. But I think that being on this podcast has been one of the most fun things that I've done in my time here at school. But you know, hopefully, next episode gonna be just a little bit better. We're trying to step up our quality every time. We're trying to make the highest quality stuff, and we want to make it a better quality podcast every time. So, Brayden, do you want to finish with one more topic?
Oh, well, we could. Also, to the people listening to this, please tag Mr. Beast in this. We would love to do an episode with him.
Exactly.
Or tag a NFL player that would like to talk with us.
And I will say, our next episode, the guest that we should have coming on, if we're able to get him on our show, we think that this next guest can be a really, really tremendous guest. He knows a ton about sports. He knows a ton about everything. You know, you kind of following away from baseball, but he's back into it. So hopefully we'll know some good questions about him. But this is all anticipation of the same guest, so we're going to do another thing. Our next episode, we got a great guest coming up. It's going to be just great. We hope that you'll be there for him. It'll be great.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. And just thank the guest again. And good night.
Thank you to anyone who listens to this podcast. A little time has gone by since Brayden just said good night. This is a little bit after recording. Thank you so much if you've listened all the way down here, which you probably turned it off after you accidentally clicked it on YouTube. You're trying to look for something a little more entertaining than us. But if anyone is genuinely listening, if anyone genuinely listened to whatever we did in the MLB segment, we appreciate you. Me and Mr. Brayden both appreciate you so much. Thank you. Peace out. Peace out.